Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are talking with Allana Pratt.
Yeah.
Little tongue-tied on her first name, but a beautiful one nonetheless.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let me tell you all, our audience, about her. She is an intimacy expert. She is a global media personality inspiring open-hearted, unapologetic living after heartbreak. Her inspiring vulnerability and courage has landed her a featured weekly column on the Good Men Project, featured as an icon of influence, and as a guest expert on Huffington Post, People Magazine, Forbes, The Jenny McCarthy Show, among other national media. This Ivy League grad is the author of 4 top-selling books. She has interviewed Whoopi Goldberg, Alanis Morissette, and Dr. Bernie Siegel, and hosts the edgy podcast, Intimate Conversations, where listeners learn how to find the relationship they deserve. A certified coach, Allana was asked by Lisa Gibbons to coach her during Dancing with the Stars. With over 4 million viewers on YouTube, Allana is the go-to authority when struggling to trust again after heartbreak. She offers private coaching and retreats to support her clients so they have thriving, intimate relationships with themselves first, which naturally attracts their ideal partnerships. Welcome.
Thank you so much. You're a beautiful lady, and your kitchen, I have kitchen envy. I gotta say, what a gorgeous background you have there. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So tell us a little bit, because when I read that, I found some vulnerability and something went on for you that brought you to where you are today. And I know our listeners would be very interested in hearing about that, as I would.
Thank you. Yes, you're absolutely right. And as people get to know me, I'm very vulnerable about my story because I really don't trust the experts out there that say, I'm perfect. And if you'd like to be perfect like me, you can take my program and let's all be perfect. Like, that's not life. That's not real. And you don't learn how to forgive unless you've been betrayed. You don't learn how to be strong unless you do 10 more push-ups, right? So we come to our glory through not always a beautiful path, but it's our life journey, and it's for us, not against us. Even though during the moment we're like, can I swear? Is that all right? I don't know. Is this a swear? Is this a PG show? Sorry, I drop the F-bomb a lot. So like, okay. WTF? Like, what? Really? Universe? Like, oh, and this is Muffin. She often comes to say hello during interviews. So let's see. So I'm a small town Canadian girl, and my Uncle Phil drove a semi to LA once a month, and I quit college and I jumped on the semi to like be a model, be a dancer in LA. And I was like courageous enough, talented enough, no visa, no job. So instead of going home and saying I failed, I kept going, and I got a job in Japan. Moved over to Japan, 4 years dancing, modeling, spokesperson, met husband number 1. Tall, dark, and handsome, multi-millionaire, like a good guy. And yet I was quite insecure at the time. And I remember once he took me to the Shangri-La Hotel in the Philippines. He said, bring a passport and your bikini. So I'm like, wow, this is a date. Oh my God. And he was negotiating his bonus, 1.3. I'm like, that's probably millions, isn't it? And I was so proud of myself, Barbara. I had saved a whole $55,000 in the 4 years that I'd been there. I mean, that was a lot of money to me at the time. But in that moment, I have no idea why, I decided he was better than me. He was smarter than me. He must be right. I must be wrong. I must not be good enough. It triggered all of my, why, Daddy, don't you love me? Why don't you see me? And so I decided, I don't know why, but that I needed to prove my worth to him. I would be a good wife. And I always gave my power away to him. And it caught up with me after, I think we were together about 6 years. I was even hiding in the closet to meditate because he thought that was like weird. And we'd moved from New York out to LA, and I found more of my people, and I had the courage to say, you know, this isn't a fit anymore. And so I ended that relationship. And so I don't blame him. It's not that there's no good men out there. I chose somebody from my little girl. Do you love me? Am I good enough? I never asked if I chose him. He chose me. I was young and I did my best. So I forgave myself. I call it like little you. She did her best. And I said, well, let's try again. So fast forward, very charismatic man who I met. And it was right during the time when my mom was dying of cancer. And I know it's not very enlightened, but at the time, I just wanted a relationship to replace her. I wanted a relationship and a baby to replace her so I didn't have to feel the pain of losing my favorite person on the planet. And so she died. We got married. We got pregnant. And within a year, I was a single, motherless mom. I had attracted somebody who on the outside was very charismatic, but on the inside had quite an anger issue. And when I tried to divorce him, he first cried, did that sort of manipulation thing. And then when I really meant business, he got angry. So angry that there was a 12-year custody battle to try to take away our son. That in the end, I lost. I ran out of money. I lost my home. I lost my savings. I went into $250,000 legal debt. And even for a period of time when my son was about 13, I remember the two of them arrived one day in the driveway, and Dad's right. He showed me your emails. You are crazy. And I'm living with him now. Took all of his stuff and left. And, you know, up until then, Barbara, even though I lost in court, even though he turned my dad and my sister against me, even though he turned friends against me, even though, at least, Barbara, my son loved me. I was still good enough. Well, my God, when my son turned against me as well, that was like the last straw. And I remember saying to my assistant, just find me someplace out in the desert or in a mountain or in a lake. I need to go cry and have a nervous breakdown. And so she found me this beautiful cabin in the middle of the nowhere. You ever heard of the Pacific Coast Trail? You know, that movie Wild. So it was just like 5 minutes down the road from that, kind of outside of Los Angeles, Palm Springs. And I couldn't see a house for 180 degrees. And I just focused on my clients and I cried. And I realized I was still seeking my worth based on looking good. My son loved me. See? And that was a whole pattern of growing up with a father who was drunk and stoned. Daddy, do you see me? Am I good enough? I was all miswired. I was looking for my worth and my safety from the outside in. I didn't know how to find it on the inside out. But when I lost everything, even my son's temporary, but my son's love, I finally came home to me more deeply and completely than I ever had, where I really knew my worth. Yes, accomplishments come and go, money come and go, men come and go, but I still have me, the same me that I've had the whole time. And it was a real gift in the difficult time. And then lo and behold, as I had that inner awakening, 5 months later, my son called. Mom, I'm sorry. I just didn't know how to tell you. Dad has a better speaker system. I just would rather, he lives closer to all my friends. He has a better house. I just would rather live with him. I'm like a guy now. I need to do the guy thing. And I'm like, okay. So I chose to create peace through not exercising my legal rights. He doesn't live with me right now. And he lives with his dad. And we have a closer relationship than ever because I was willing to not shame him or feel bad about myself. Didn't make him feel guilty. I said, okay, you're discovering your manhood. I'm going to honor that, and I'm going to honor myself and not be ashamed. I've done my best too. So we have this amazing relationship now. It just doesn't look regular. And lo and behold, as I was having the landlord come give me some mail one day at this cabin in the middle of nowhere, he brought with him a very handsome man, his son, like literally to my doorstep, which normally I don't say. You got to get out there. You got to meet people. No, I just opened the door. There he was. And so I had a 1 year, it was just 1 year, but a beautiful 1 year relationship with a gorgeous man inside and out who really supported me in coming out of my shell. And it was very sexually healing for me. And he was a little bit younger and alive, and he really helped me find myself again. It didn't have phase 2 potential, but it had phase 1 potential. And now where I am in my life, my business is thriving. I'm completely out of debt. I have suitors of a more compatible variety. My son and I are awesome. I'm almost 50. I feel great in my body. I paddleboard at the ocean all the time. And I really love giving people hope that their hell is the greatest gift to awaken something within them that they agreed to. I kind of think of like God and the goddess, scotch and cigars. We're all sitting around going, what should we do this life? Okay, you want to learn empowerment? Well, you're going to get your ass kicked. Down you go. You want to learn forgiveness? Well, we're going to get you betrayed. Go for it. Have some fun. So I think I must have said, well, I want to learn to keep my heart open in the face of anything. I want to learn to know my worth, no matter what anybody says. And I want to learn to be the light that I am and inspire others. And they said, and we have the ex-husbands for you. And down you go. So I hope that story gives people some inspiration. And no matter what you've been through, it is for you. You just got to be willing to do the inner work. And then it's a literal vibration. We are vibrational creatures. We are made of energy. So when that vibration rises within you, you will meet a great man. We only need one. I mean, maybe you want 2 or 3, that's fine. But like, you really only need one person to see you and get you. And when you see and get yourself, they show up. They show up.
That's amazing. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome. So how did you figure out that you needed to learn to love yourself? I understand the dynamics of the trauma that you were going through.
Yeah.
But how did you know, what was that journey like that you figured out this is what I need to do right now?
Yeah. A couple different factors. I have a full coaching practice, but I've never been a coach without having a coach. In fact, right now I have 4. It's a little maybe much, but one, business and my new book and my PR coach and my spiritual coach. So I always have people to see my own blind spots. I'm a cum laude graduate. I'm a pretty smart girl, but nothing has allowed me to see my blind spots. And so one of the things that I think has really helped me is I'm super confident and badass, but I'm also very humble and vulnerable. And I don't shame myself for not knowing. I don't shame myself for making mistakes. So I have a healthy humility and a healthy confidence so that I can ask for help. Show me what I don't see. And so I've had wonderful coaches that have taught me how to heal. And they've taught me that we can't create on top of an emotional charge, on top of an emotional trigger. When we're all calm, we make great decisions. But as soon as something happened that reminds us of somebody abandoning, ghosting, flaking, abusing, cheating, anything, as soon as we get triggered, we literally stop the connection between our intelligent brain. We stop the connection between our intuition, our instincts. We stop the connection to the divine God, that awareness from our higher selves. And we just react. And we rarely make good decisions. So I had to take responsibility that all those areas when I would go loco, I needed to heal. And that I couldn't do it myself. Even though I'm an amazing coach, it's sort of like you can't be the banks of the river and the river at the same time. Right. I had to have somebody to surrender into. And it was a really good exercise because here I am wanting to have this intimate, beautiful relationship with somebody. I've got to learn how to do that with myself. And I've got to learn how to do that with a healthy partner, in this case, a coach partner. But I had to have the example of what that looked like, felt like, how I could do that so that I could recreate it in a healthy way in a relationship. So I knew I had blocks to valuing myself. I knew I had blocks to trusting others. I knew I had blocks to feeling at peace in my skin. And I just couldn't figure it out. So I had help with my coaches. And now I've learned the quantum psychology processes, the spiritual technology processes that they taught me. I can now teach my clients and get them to what I call home, so that safety and security and approval and appreciation is on the inside out. And it's literally a vibration. And it doesn't mean that you're never going to get hurt again. I think that's a real misnomer. Like people are like, teach me how to never get hurt again. I'm like, well, die. I don't know how to do that, because welcome to life. Life is always equal support and challenge. And I'll give you a little story to kind of articulate this point. So that it hopefully awakens one's courage and also allows you to have your own back. So my mom, I alluded to that she died. So there it is. There's the moment. She's dead. And I'm like, wow, look at that. They don't look like they're sleeping. They really look like they're dead, like they're not there. And I'm like, okay, this is so much pain. I don't know if I can handle it. And I chose to open my heart and breathe 3, 4, 5 breaths through this excruciating pain that I'd never felt in my life. And all of a sudden, after 3, 4, 5 breaths, by keeping my heart open and staying present, all of a sudden I felt like this head to toe. It was almost like an orgasm, but not like a clitoral thing, like a full bodied, like whoosha. It was like oneness with the divine. Through the path of pain and presence and heart openness, I felt this love for my mom. It was like a moment of grace. And I thought, well, that's kind of curious. That's quite lovely, really. And then 9 months later, I was giving birth. The week after she died was my sister's wedding, and we all just pretended she was on vacation and got really drunk. So I got pregnant. And then 9 months later, I'm giving birth, and I'm looking in my child's eyes, and my legs are splayed. I'm birthing the placenta, right? But I'm not going to miss this moment. I'm going to stay present. I'm going to open my heart. I'm going to breathe 5 breaths. I'm just going to stay present and look in his eyes. And it was bliss. It was so blissful. And then all of a sudden, Barbara, so unexpectedly, the very same sensation that happened when I was feeling pain happened when I was feeling bliss. It was this full-bodied, I don't know, like oneness of love. And then instantly I saw a heart. Wait a minute, through the path of pain with an open heart, or even through the path of bliss and success and wonderful things with an open heart, you reach the same place. Home, oneness, love, bliss, whatever you want to call it. And I went, oh my God, every moment has both. Every experience can lead us home. And then I went deeper and I went back to that moment when my mom died. I'm like, wait a minute. Half of it was pain, horrible pain. But half of it was relief that she wasn't in pain anymore. She had a horrible cancer. So there was pain and pleasure all in the same moment. And when I felt into it with an open heart, I had oneness with all. And then same with when I gave birth, I had this bliss. Here's this gorgeous little miracle. And then the other half of it was like, holy shit, how am I going to keep it alive? Oh my God. So it was like joy and fear all at the same time. And I breathed through it and I had all those experiences. And in life, I hope this is making sense. Whenever we're on like an addictive roller coaster, the pattern is continuing. It's generally because we're only willing to see one side, the bad of it. And we don't want the bad. And we clamor for the good. And that's addiction. That's addiction. It doesn't have to be drug addiction. It can be like our bodies are reacting, like clamoring for this pleasure where we often give our power away to have it so that we don't have to feel this pain. But if we get brave and we get courageous and we stay in our body and we open our heart, and there's processes that I help people to do this because obviously it's not very easy. If you can be present to all, you will experience grace. And from this place of grace, you make great choices because you're present. You're at choice. You're connected with your highest self and your intuition. So this is really the deeper brain science work and central nervous system work and breath work and presence work to really what I call be a queen, because we're going to get challenged. There's going to be something that goes down. And those are the moments that in the past I would have ruined the relationship. But now I can breathe, I can hit above the belt, I can take responsibility for my own stuff. And the relationship of intimacy can be vulnerable, transparent, and grow closer over time, which is, I think, what we really desire. We just want to be able to be seen and understood and safe being us. And it's insane to think that's going to happen out there if it's not happening in here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, how would you describe the way you work with clients in order for them to feel love for themselves,
Yeah.
as well as work through things that are holding them back from being able to love themselves,
Yeah.
and be open and vulnerable for possibility of finding somebody?
Yeah, fun and having that thrive. Yeah, even just finding them, that's kind of the easy part. Once the honeymoon stage is over and we're really in the real life, how do we keep that growing and evolving?
Mm-hmm.
So logistically, I work with people either in a VIP way where they come to wherever I live. I live in San Diego right now. We do a 2-day VIP, and there's 6 sessions that bookend that experience. So logistically, that's a way that's very one-on-one. I also have a group program where I do a couple private sessions and then many group sessions, and they get my home study program that has like 7 weeks of transformational processes. So there's sort of more of a group way and then more of a VIP way. So those are the logistics. The what I do in each of those situations is I've been trained in what they're called spiritual technology or quantum psychology. And one of the fundamentals is why therapy isn't as successful for most people. The reason being is that when an event gets imprinted into us, it's on 4 levels, 4 elements: the image, the thought, the emotion, and the body sensation. So if you're doing a lot of, I don't know, like talk therapy or just journaling, you're gonna maybe knock one of those off, maybe like half of what the emotion, but there's still leftover charge. And science tells us what we resist persists. What you avoid grows. That's why we recreate our worst case scenarios. And so unless you can totally duplicate that initial experience, who wants to go feel that? Sure, let's re-traumatize ourselves again. And so if you don't go back at 100%, it grows. So you need a very, very effective, specific process to make sure you 100% duplicate it. But what happens is when I take them through these processes, it collapses. It like integrates. It's gone. Like the charge is gone. And because you can't create or destroy energy, where did it go? Well, then there's this wisdom. There's this capacity that event was trying to awaken within you, trying to emerge within you. But it was just too much at the time. I couldn't process it, so it stays there. So I help the people process it and collapse the trauma. And then this integration and merging and awakening of, we could call it strength, compassion, presence, all these different capacities that we're trying to awaken. The energy, it's like alchemy. We're changing from lead to gold. And it's in you and it's embodied and no one can take it away. You don't have to try. You don't have to remember. It's just who you are now. And I think a lot of people just operate like the chin up and it's like a temporary state of motivation. And then you go home and you go back to your old behaviors again, because a state is like sprinkles on top of the ice cream cone of shit. It's nice for a little bit, but it isn't integrated. It isn't below the chin. It's not living in every cell of your being and your vibration. It's just sort of like 10 more affirmations. I can be in a good mood till about 10 a.m. and then I open up the, right? That's why I can date for like maybe 1 day or 2 days, but like 3rd or 4th dates, I never get asked out again because that's that thing that keeps coming back. So we need to do the processes all the way to the core and the transformation. It gets literally transformation and it sticks in them. And I will say each of those programs I'm completely successful at. Sometimes I'm really good or they're really ready and it only takes like 1 session and we have like a massive shift. But even if that occurs right out of the gate, that is the healing part, but there's still the skill building part. You still got to get out there. You still got to practice. You still got to be in communication. You've still got to learn when they say something, how to respond in a way that keeps the connection going. So there's still a lot of skill building that I need to teach people, like really new ways of communicating that from a feminine, inviting place, from a way that makes a man feel safe to communicate, that allows him to claim us in a way that feels honoring. There's still a lot of skill building to do, but you can't have any success with any of this when it's on top of the emotion, the trigger. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You always fail. And then when you fail, every time you fail, you just feel worse about yourself, right? And then we've got more work to do. so like, let's do the work. Let's build the skills and out you go. And it's wonderful. Sometimes people fall in love like right away. They meet their partner like primo right away. Sometimes even within my group programs, they fall in love. That's happened too. Not that I'm an official matchmaker, but it has happened. And other times they're just like, you know what? The part of me that needed a man to be enough, that's gone now. Huh. Do I really want a man? Well, I could have one. I could choose one, but I don't need it anymore. And of course, that makes you very, very sexy and very, very attractive because you're not pushing away from this neediness and emptiness. And then you have like, oh, well, maybe I don't want to live with somebody. Maybe I just want to have this guy's fun for this kind of event and this guy's fun for this kind of event. Like this whole truth arises that may be exactly what you thought you always wanted, but sometimes it surprises you. Sometimes it's something completely different, but all I know is it's your truth. It's your authentic purpose, your authentic soul's expression. And it feels good. Yeah.
Wow. Now that's deep. I get what you're saying.
I am deep. I'm a nerd. Sorry.
That's okay. No, hopefully the audience has a basic understanding of what you're talking about. But no, I totally get what you're saying. I've been through something that was
shitty,
life altering. No, life
no,
altering.
good way.
Yeah.
Oh, good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
Good.
And so yeah, it has awakened things in me that I was holding back on.
Wonderful.
So,
congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah. Excuse me. For the audience, if everything I'm saying is like kind of crazy, just get into my email list, start reading, start listening to my videos, my podcasts. I got lots of, complimentary content. Or if they're like, that's why everything I've done hasn't worked, I need to call her. Well, then, contact me and let's see if we're a fit.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add or conclude with?
Sure. Well, first, is it all right if I just offer something free that everybody can have access to? Is that cool?
Please, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And this is mainly women, not men that are watching, right?
You know what?
Could be some men as well?
Men are definitely invited and included, but
I personally love men, so that's great. I just wanted to know, so I want to make sure I give them a gift too. Okay. So ladies, I think the best gift that I could provide for you is a real restructuring of your concept of vulnerability, that it is not a weakness, it is a strength. And in fact, it's quite irresistible when a woman puts down her walls, but her spine is strong. She's very inviting. So there's a complimentary training called The Vulnerability is the New Sexy. So it's allanapratt.com/vulnerability. And it's a 7-part complimentary training really to help you discerningly lower your walls and invite in nobility. So that's for the ladies. For the gentlemen, my site, gethertosayyes.com, right there has a complimentary training called How to Be a Noble Badass. I love that because a lot of men hearts have been emasculated. And it's very hard for a man to tell a man, my heart hurts. You gotta be strong, can't cry. And so, but when the heart shuts down, you spin in your head, doubting yourself all the time, or the sexuality is more just genital copulation. It's what it feels like to a woman because the heart isn't involved and we don't feel made love to. We feel like we're having sex. That's it. And so you're not going to get the second date if you even get that far. So this report is really going to help the noble badass combine these elements. So it's going to feel good to be you, and you're going to be attracting quality conscious women because you'll be a quality conscious man. So those are 2 complimentary trainings for all of you so that you can all leave with something. I want you to know my YouTube channel has tons of videos, search there. My podcast has tons of interviews, search there. And that complimentary training will bring you into my world so you can read my newsletters, which people tell me, and I think it's really lovely, but they say, when I clean out my emails, I just can't seem to opt out of Deepak Chopra or you. I'm like, that there's really some great energy and insight in my newsletters. I'm very proud of them. I spend a lot of time on them, so you'll receive those as well. So those are the logistics so that you can all leave with something. The last thing I think I'd like to leave with you is that your person's out there. There's this, they say ask and it's given, right? In science, the minute you ask, the quantum field is infinite and it's already manifest. What you've asked for, ask and it's given, it's there. Now, the only thing is there's a gap. There's just a gap, and it's a vibrational gap in a scientific level. But what that feels like in the world is the way we think, it's the way we act, it's the actions we take, it's are we operating on top of that emotional trigger or not? That's the only thing that's required. It's not that they're not out there. It's not that you don't get to have what you want. It's done, like done, slap your ass, done, like it's done. But you need to do the work. So be willing. Be willing to enjoy the process, be willing to roll up your sleeves, be willing to get messy, be willing to be humble, be willing to be courageous. Just do your work because what you choose, you get to have. You do. So I want you to know that, not just hope, know it. Yeah.
That's a beautiful message. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for this honor. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I really enjoyed what you had to say. And thank you, audience, for joining us. And please go and explore her gifts. How generous of her. Thank you.